feel that breeze?
So nice.
It's so nice to be back on our set in Sicily. Both of us are back. Alfred went to the United States for a few weeks, and I went to Budapest to see family for a few days. And then we had some tours, and now we're gearing up for a great fall touring season.
And I ate my lobster roll. I was so happy, Esther.
But you know what? He came back from the States, and what did he do? We went to the supermarket, and he bought some lobster from Canada.
Two frozen lobsters.
I go, Al,
come on,
didn't you
$10
have,
each.
You're in Boston. Why didn't you have any lobster? Well, I had a lobster roll. Well, why didn't you have a regular lobster? So he goes and buys these teeny little ones from the supermarket, frozen. Anyway.
I'll tell you what, the lobsters here are small, only 300 or 400 grams, but they make a great lobster sauce. So when she's going to be taking off going hither and yon on a Friday, guess what? It takes me an hour and a half to make a delicious meal. So that's why I did it.
Anyway, those are some of the great finds that we found in supermarkets over the past few years. We found some really great products that we actually missed from the United States. By the way, if you're new around here, I'm Esther, and this is Alfred.
Hello.
And Alfred has been coming and going to Sicily for over 25 years. For me, this is my 10th year, and in 2016, we made the permanent move. Now, let's mosey into a little bit of the topic that we're going to be covering today. If you're coming to live or maybe stay an extended stay in Sicily or Italy, these are some of the things for you to consider. Now, Al, the place we're in right now, you have this place and you had a place before. Now, before you came and found these homes and apartments, you did a lot of investigation. You came to Sicily several times. You looked around. You measured 9 times and cut once. Does that sound familiar? I stole your line. So what are some of the things that you did to prepare to make your move here to Sicily?
Well, the first thing I had to do, and I think you ought to do, is answer a basic question. Why do I want to come to Sicily? Do I want to come short term? Well, if you want to come short term, then with your American passport, you could stay here 90 days and then vacate the EU for 90 days and come back for 90 days. It's on a rolling basis. So you could essentially come 180 days a year, 3 months. It's kind of like being if you're going to Florida from New England, a snowbird, so to speak, right? Is that what you are? Well, then that is a different type of person than a person that says, to heck with it, I want to move to Italy.
Yeah.
Right? That's completely different.
But it could be a person that, let's say, purchases something here and wants to stay here 3 months, go home 3 months, or purchase something
Sure.
and get a citizenship for the future. But I'm more interested, you take a look at Italy, and we've talked about this a lot, that northern Italy, those people, up north have nothing in common with here, people Sicilians, but it's the same thing with the lifestyles and also the costs of living. North Italy versus South Italy. It's a completely different feel, different culture, different prices. And so you need to decide, is Sicily your place? Is Southern Italy your place? Or is it more of a Northern Italy? But we're going to focus more on if they want to move to Sicily, right?
Well, no matter what it is, north, south, east, west, up or down, you shouldn't make a decision based on your quote-unquote online research, okay? First of all, online research is full of crooks. There's a lot of crooks online, resellers, so to speak, going to 2 or 3 or 4 different layers of commission, so to speak. And there's really nothing better, Esther, in my view, than to come here. But not to come here for one place. I think to come here for first 2 or 3 different provinces. I think once you make an initial decision, okay, I want to move here, which, by the way, is a huge decision, then you want to say, okay, where do I want to go? So do your research, all right? And then expand it by a couple of provinces because, it's all different, isn't it?
Exactly.
The West Coast is different from the East Coast. The North Coast, the North is different than the South. It depends on what your cultural background is, for example. And if you don't have any cultural background, what's the major things for you? What are you concerned about? Banks, hospitals, shopping, access to the airport, access to a highway. Those are kind of like a punch list that you have to come up with more than anything else. I think that those are some of the initial.
People often ask us, why here in this area? Well, Alfred found this area in the first place. But for me, it's a great location. We're just outside of Catania. It's close enough to the airport, which we use often, not only for personal, but also our tours.
Yep.
It's close enough to all the must-sees on the East Coast, right, because of our tours and so forth. It's by the sea. You've seen our beautiful view many times, so I can walk down to the beach. The mountain, Mount Etna, is right around here, and we live in a residential area, not in the middle of, what do you call those places? Hinterlands, not in the middle of nowhere. We're in a very residential, and we're close enough to Catania that there's a lot of culture. So if we want to do a play or a concert or something. So those are some important things. And also, as you mentioned, Alfred, the hospital is a very important consideration.
The other thing that I think is important is for, like in Esther's case, okay, she likes to play the cello. So guess what? Because of the hot weather, one of her strings popped. So we didn't have to drive out forever to find a music store. So it depends on what your particular interest in is. Is it into art, museums? You need to make your own list of things that you want, that you need in order to survive. And remember this and underline this, in a foreign country. Even though you're Italian American or Canadian American,
it's a different world.
Completely different world.
Now, I want to piggyback on what you said about the music store, because believe it or not, there are malls here in Sicily, and we live close enough to some malls because of the type of work that we do in video and computer work. I need to be close to an electronics shop. So it's vitally important that all my Apple products, all my, my camera products, I'm able to go and get things that I may need. So those are important things for us to consider. Now, you talk about this being a foreign land, and I think would be remiss without mentioning that the bureaucracy here that you may experience, and you will experience, everything from opening up a bank to getting your residence card to getting your health card, to getting really anything done, including getting your trash picked up. That, remember, you had the trees cut in the garden, and we had those bags of leaves and tree bark sitting there for almost a month. Yes, we called the community. Please, can you come pick it up? Because you have to have special trash picker-uppers to pick up certain things. It took a month of constantly calling. So those are just some little things that, be prepared for it.
Really, she's not kidding about that particular issue. The red tape is unbelievable. She showed me a video of these two people. One person had been here 2 months, and she did a video that's getting a lot of play, why she was going home and why Italy wasn't for her. And you know what she said? Too many people speak Italian and nobody speaks English, right? Well, guess what? I think it's up to you to learn how to speak Italian as opposed to the other way around.
I agree 100%.
I mean, it's bananas.
Rome, do as the Romans do.
Right.
Of course, some basic words you should get along, but you shouldn't expect Italians to speak English. And the other thing, now you talk about some of these videos. There are a bunch of videos out there, people complaining about Sicily. The fact is, there is trash all over the roads. It's a huge problem. We're having a little bit of a trash emergency. The landfills are full. There's also additional trash because of the additional people on the island. It's a huge problem. Just like any other country. You have your own problems, I'm guessing, wherever you're watching.
The funniest video that I saw, and before we move on to some more substantive stuff, is this guy and his wife were moving here, right? In the picture, they open up the video, he's in the middle of a field, and let's say his name was Joe Blow and Helen Blow, right? They're moving back to the United States because they came here to open up a farm. And one of the first two sentences he said was, well, I can't even understand the metric system because everything here is in the metric system, right? So he didn't know the difference between a liter and a gallon, just to give you an example. To me, those are the types of people who are not, they're ill-prepared to come here, and they really shouldn't come
Well,
here.
let's talk about some of the things that people should know about. So Alfred talked about the metrics. So let's talk a little bit about some practical advice for you, some things that you should know and be prepared about before coming here to Sicily. A little bit of a working knowledge of the Italian. And mind you, I said Italian, not Sicilian language. A lot of people at bars and restaurants are now starting to speak a little bit better, but your everyday mom and pops, they don't speak English. Those are some of the things definitely to keep in mind.
Well, let me answer that question about the Italian lingo. See, I used the word lingo because there's a free app, free. It's called Duolingo, Duolingo.
And we're not being sponsored by
I'm
them.
not sponsored by them, but you want to learn basic phraseology and simple sentences so you don't sound like a complete moron like I did when I was here. Go on and do 15 minutes a day before you come. Basic stuff.
I did that,
Help!
Al.
I need help.
Al,
Where's the bathroom?
I did that, but it
Where's
didn't do
this?
anything.
What do you mean it didn't do it?
It didn't do it. It
That-
wasn't until I came here and started using my Italian regularly. I did like several months of Duolingo back in the States. When I arrived here, I was butchering it because I spoke Portuguese because we lived in Brazil, and I took Spanish in high school, so I was butchering it. It wasn't until I got down in the dirt, in the trenches, and talked to everyday Italians every single day, I forced myself, that I learned that language. But a little bit of a working knowledge of
Well, for me, it's a little bit
Italian.
more fundamental because if you're going to come here permanently at some point in time after 1 year of establishing residency, you're going to have to get an Italian license. And in order to get an Italian license, you're going to have to pass an Italian language test in Italian that is replete with trick questions, is replete with big words,
What level
car
is that?
words, for example.
What level is that, by the way?
What?
In Italian,
A
what
level B, a level B, right?
Level B.
So you have to, I personally think you need to have a combination of what Esther's saying, coming here, learning to speak, that's great, but you also need to have
True.
basic, not, you don't have to be a PhD in Italian history, but basic communication skills verbally. I think it's really important that you do that. And there are a lot of them now, okay? But I prefer Duolingo. And my friend, the Campionis, I believe, right?
Huh?
She had, Krista, she's done it for
Oh my
like
gosh, her
1,000
Italian-
straight lessons, right? And
Italian
guess what?
has
And she comes over here. She doesn't like to speak,
remarkably.
but guess what?
No, her
She
Italian
knows
has-
everything.
Her Italian
Right.
has improved remarkably.
kidding.
She came on our June tour, and I was like, Krista, oh my God. Listen, I want to go back to talking about driving. Driving in Sicily. It's not for the faint of heart, let me tell you. Not only the small streets, that sometimes are very, very narrow, and it's a two-way street, but also the drivers here are New York drivers on steroids. Driving can be a very, very stressful thing. I only drive in, to go to the supermarket, the market, blah, blah, blah. I don't drive long distance. It's really something of an acquired taste. I know others have talked about what kind of angst and anxiety the driving causes them. So that's something to think about. You may want to choose a place that's walking distance, for instance, from a lot of things. For us here, for me, this is perfect because I can walk down to the market, walk down to the cafe, walk down to the beach. But those are some things when choosing a location that you should really consider. Do you always want to have a car? Will your place have a parking space? Those are very, minor details that can become a big deal.
Honestly, I started a new thing this year, okay? I don't drive out of the zone. What do? We get our drivers from our bus companies, if we have to go far, like say I have to drive from here to Castellamare del Golfo or to Palermo or Cefalù, I'm not driving anymore. Not that I'm afraid to drive. I don't want to drive, okay? But I want to have a professional, okay? In my case, if that's a trip that's for a business purpose, the business pays for it. Why should I pay for it? Locally, Esther has some beautiful companies that are local cab guys, and they're very inexpensive. So if you get a car here, you're going to pay several $100s a month or more just to rent the car, plus insurance on top of that, plus the bolo, plus the revisione, and by the time you figure out how much a car's going to pay, you're going to figure out, hey, I don't do that much traveling, right?
Maybe I don't need a car.
Maybe I don't need a car, or if I need a car, I can just go rent it for a weekend because I'm going to Palermo. You know, the other thing, too, is there's an excellent train system here, far better than the United States. There's an excellent bus system here, far better than the United States, okay? It's not as violent as I read about in the paper, the horror stories that we see in trains in big cities in the States. So it depends on what you want. And the biggest thing, which is driving her nuts, by the way, bicycles. People are now driving bicycles to the detriment of people driving cars because they're taking the car lanes and they're cutting them off and they're making them into bicycle lanes.
So if you're a bicyclist,
and you don't need to have a license for a bicycle.
You're coming to a good place, especially outside of the Catania area because they're making it super bike friendly. Now listen, Alfred, I want to talk to you about, finding a place and then you're renting, leasing, buying, so forth. So now let's talk about some of the things that when you rent, you need to know about. For instance, this one is crazy. You have to pay a TV tax. Even though we don't have a TV, you have to pay a TV tax. So at the end of the year or month or whenever, pay the rent.
No, it's put on the electric bill.
It's put on the electric bill. But it says TV tax. We don't even have a TV tax. There's a trash tax.
Well, it's a garbage pickup, yeah.
It's a garbage
Municipal
pickup.
waste pickup, right.
So you need, when you're...
And you have to separate. It's not that you just put all your garbage out and they take it. It's got to be plastic one day, paper the
and
next day.
trust me, they're militant about it.
And they're militant about that because they won't pick it up if it's not out there on the right day.
Or your neighbors
Which is
will
a good
yell
thing.
at you.
Yeah, which is a good thing, by the way.
So
That's
what
a
are
good
some
thing.
other things about renting, let's say?
Okay, now, in order for me to advise someone about renting, I need to know a little bit about them, okay? Are you here, and are you going to be working from the States? Let me just talk about, like myself, for example, okay? I'm considered to be semi-retired, even though I'm not, but I'm really semi-retired. Not the way I used to be in the United States. However, I have the touring business with Esther. I have the video production business with Esther. I have legal consulting with my law partner, Massimo, over here. So I do generate outside income. Esther, the most important thing is, once you decide where you're going to live, of course, all right, the area you're going to live, I would engage a realtor, okay? I think a realtor is good. Let them show you around a few places before you make a decision. Remember, as Esther said, and I won't say it, but something about measuring 9 times and cutting once. Okay?
But wait, and we know some realtors, right?
Yeah, we know a lot of people, and we help a lot of people. And if you ever need help, contact Esther. And between me, her, our realtors, and Massimo, we'll hook you up. But that's something different. Here's the thing. Okay, the typical lease in Italy is either 3 years with a 3-year option or 4 years with a 4-year option. However, if you're coming here on, say, an elective visa, you may not have to do it that long. You might be able to do 1 or 2 years with a 1 or 2 year option, okay? But whatever it is, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or 4 years, make sure that they register the lease. Okay, those are the laws now. Why do they want it registered? So that the apartment owner is not putting the money in the black in his pocket. They want to make sure that the place is zoned to have an apartment, and they want everything.
What does that mean, zoned to have it?
Okay, say for example, it's above a pizzeria. Okay, maybe that pizzeria is only zoned for commercial places, and that upstairs apartment they're trying to rent really isn't an apartment, but rather a storage area. Okay, so you want to make sure, and by putting it on, going to the registry, your lawyer does that, go to the registry of deeds, he makes sure that everything is according to Hoyle. That's number one, okay? Now, the second, so that's number one, okay? Making sure that the place that you've picked is what you want, and then negotiating a lease with an option. Now, then as Esther says, You could have all these additional charges, whether it's, she said, garbage pickup, TV tax, there's condo fees, which, by the way, condo fees here are about 30% the cost of in the United States. They rob you in the United States, okay, New England especially. Over here, I pay €120 per quarter. That's like $40 a month.
What can
Come on.
people expect to pay average for a place? Now, we're talking, because the prices can differentiate from the city. Near the water is different. Tourist areas will be different. In the center of Sicily will be different than maybe Catania, Palermo, or here by the
Definitely.
water. So can you give an idea of some of the ranges can people expect?
Sure. It depends on what you want first. You want a villa? That's number one. First of all, renting a villa, that would be a freestanding house with a garden, okay? Some have pools, some don't. Those things are very difficult to find to lease, okay? Because people who have villas for lease are pretty much in the business of tourism, and they want to charge top dollar to get those places. So if you find one, you got to be very lucky to find one. Now, if you're going to rent, your rent is going to be dependent upon the area that you're going to be living in. The cities like Palermo and Catania are far more expensive than the hinterlands or suburbia.
Yeah.
What do we pay? Esther and I, now I've been here now 12 years in this apartment, and it's a nice apartment. It's considered, this is a two-floor townhouse with 3 bedrooms, a deck in the front, a deck in the back. We have office space down here, kitchen, a bath and a
upstairs,
bath, right?
a deck upstairs.
And a garage, okay? Between the rent and all my utilities, it's about $1,100 a month.
Right,
Okay.
but it differs from month to month. Maybe in the summer we use
Heat,
more
right.
more electricity for the air conditioner, more heat in the winter months. So
Right.
it's always, it's not an exact number.
Which brings you to the next thing. How much money do I need to, what's the story with the money with me to coming here to living in Sicily? Okay, make a long story short. You shouldn't come here if you don't have any money. That's number one. Because if you're coming here to look for a job, unless you're a highly specialized professional, you're going to end up working in a pizzeria if you could find a job. There aren't any jobs in Italy for you. Unless you want to be an English teacher, and in that case you have to be TOEFL certified, or if you want to work in the touring business, maybe as an escort, but not as a tour guide because you have to have a license.
Or a digital nomad.
Or a digital nomad, but that's a different story, okay? So, the thing is, okay, so now I'm in Italy, what's going to cost me to live? Okay, whatever it costs you, all right, you need to have that much money in the bank before you come here. You need to have 6 months to a year's money as a cushion before you come to Italy. Because when you buy an apartment, you're going to be shocked. There are very few apartments that are fully furnished. Usually they're cinder block. They're just vanilla, 4 walls, and you have to buy a kitchen. You have to buy all the appliances,
The furnace.
et cetera, et cetera. It might cost you another €5,000 just to pimp that place out. Seriously, it's going to cost. So you need, in my view, to put down for my living expenses in Italy, $2,000 a month. That's just for apartment.
Now,
If
there
it
are
costs you,
some
if it costs you
apartments that are
$1,500, that's good. That means you're saving money.
Yeah.
And then food. Figure $100 a week. If there's 3 people, maybe 150. Figure $50-$60 a week per person.
You know what?
What?
The cost of living here compared to the United States overall, anywhere in
It's
the
a-
United States, is far less.
Correct.
The food costs are far less, that's for sure. And we've done several videos on supermarkets and some prices. Actually, we haven't done one yet this year, but I think year ago or so we did,
Yeah.
taking a look. We are also facing higher prices at the supermarkets everywhere, actually, all over Italy. Higher prices, but still more affordable than in the United States. I would also add that if you want some entertainment, for instance, for me, going to Pilates or for instance, taking cello lessons and that type of thing, it is far more affordable than it is in the United States. Getting your hair cut, for women, getting manicures, pedicures, all those things that are extras for you are far less. But put some money in there if those are some of the things that you like to do. For instance, going to the concerts and so forth. Those are some very affordable things here in Sicily. But the biggest thing is, as well, is the healthcare costs, right? That's something we haven't talked about. That when you go to look for medication and so forth, the pharmacy prices are far more affordable. And you can get a lot of prescription medication that you usually get in the United States over the counter in Sicily and Italy. By the way, this is something that surprised, I saw a video about this. They were surprised that you went to the supermarket and there was no aspirin, there was nothing first aid in the supermarkets, or very little. Yes, the pharmacy is the place where those things are concentrated. Generally, there's no aspirin or medical creams and so forth in everyday supermarket like we're accustomed to.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions
Yeah,
now.
go
What does
ahead.
it cost to get your hair cut? Done. Just give me a ballpark.
30 euro,
Okay, what does it cost to get a manicure?
20 euro,
What does it cost for pedicure?
30 euro.
What does it cost for your tuba lessons? I don't know. What about the
It's
tuba?
called the cello.
The cello, whatever. I call it a tuba, that's right. A cello, what does that cost?
30 euro, and she comes to the house.
She comes to the house 30 euro, okay. So you can see
1
that-
hour, 1 hour lesson.
1 hour, okay. You can see that just those types of services, so to speak, are profound. How about a massage? That's a good one.
A massage and well, we've known her a long time. She keeps it low. Let's say 40.
For an
Let's
hour,
30,
right?
35.
35 to
that's
40.
That's on the high end. That's on the
And she
high
comes to the house. She comes to the house.
end. She comes to the
Yeah,
house.
we don't
But
have to
that's
go-
not everyone and
So-
everywhere. We just happen to know people.
You know a guy?
I know a guy.
Wowza.
I know a guy.
Okay, so
You need
can-
something?
now,
I know a guy.
she alluded to food prices. Food prices here, I just came back from the United States. I was, as Massimo would say, shocked.
Shocked.
I was shocked when I went into Demula's Market Basket, which is a very great market, by the way.
Yeah.
And the prices just
can't even.
followed
You can't
me.
even.
All right?
Listen,
Here
for a
it's at
cup-
least 40% cheaper.
Listen, for a
on
cup of
fresh
coffee.
vegetables.
Let's
Wait a
talk
minute.
about a cup of
and fruit,
coffee.
maybe 60% cheaper.
Let's talk about a cup of coffee. I don't know. How much do you pay for a cup of coffee? And when I was home, I don't go to Starbucks. I paid like Dunkin' Donuts maybe $4 or something like that. You can safely bet that if you go to a bar, which is not a drinking bar but a cafe, you pay between $1 and $1.50 for an espresso, a cappuccino maybe $2.50.
Yeah.
So very, very affordable. Although I did see that the price of coffee may go up because of the current situation.
Whatever.
Anyway, it will go up maybe a little bit. That happens. The market adjusts for itself. So
Pasta.
overall,
Look at a bag of pasta. They sell pasta
120.
Yeah, they sell it by the kilo, 2.2 pounds. And every week at every market, they always have 5 or 6 on sale for
Like for
99 cents.
$1.30.
Yeah, but usually figure
That's
$2
about
for,
the same
that's
as
a buck
the
a
States.
pound. Come
That's
on.
about the States. Listen,
What about pizza?
pizza, your favorite thing.
A basic
good
margarita
10
at
euro.
a good place is
10 euro.
10 euro. That's about
10,
11 bucks,
12.
okay?
10, 12, yeah.
Okay. So
Depending on your topping.
so to get back to what I was saying, how much do you need? It depends on what your lifestyle is. But if you're middle class, because her and I are totally middle class, well, she may be upper middle class, and I'm totally from Lawrence, so I'm lower middle class, karma.
Finally, humor.
You could live on 25,000 bucks a head, like upper middle class here. If you make 20,000 bucks a head, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
If you make
But it depends too.
15 bucks, now you're looking at, hey, I got to watch my
Listen,
pennies. But
we don't, you like your steak, your cheeses, your blah, blah, blah. You could live here really very moderate price. But listen,
yeah, you could.
I think we should cut it right here and leave it right here and ask you guys, what do you think? What questions do you have? Because we're definitely going to do a part two. Definitely going to do a part two. What types of prices, what types of things, what types of advice would you like to do? By the way, Alfred and Massimo do citizenship coaching and also help with finding property. We do have some real estate agents that we're friends with. We do know a lot of places for sale, from smaller villas, apartments, to also a little bit grander villas. So those are some of the things. And shall I say it? Yeah, we do know someone selling a hotel not far from us. So those are some of the things that we can help you with. Let us know what you want to hear more of. And can I put a quick
Wait a minute, can I
word
just say
in there?
one thing there?
No, can
Okay.
I put a quick word that
Sure.
it is end of August, and we, believe it or not, still have space in our Tuscany and our October tour of the East Coast of Sicily. Not much space, but we do have space. And
Here's what I wanted to
else,
say about this whole business of what we're talking about today,
Yeah.
okay? You need to prepare. You have no idea some of the idiotic questions that people
no
email to me
questions
on
are idiotic.
No, believe me, they're so idiotic. I say to them, you're not prepared. You need to do some preparation before you can have a discussion with me, or else go someplace else, okay? You need to know the fundamentals of moving to and underline this, foreign country. Now, we didn't even have a discussion
We're gonna
about
have it the
visas
next time,
or any of that
next time.
stuff. Next time we'll talk about that. But
All right,
you
let's
have to do the following. Learn where you want to go. Number one, research it. Number two,
Come here.
save money before you come here. Have a bankroll in the States. And number three, parachute in and have a great time. Because once you come here and you make that decision, right? Read Robert Frost, The Road Less Traveled. If you're at a fork in the road and you don't know what to do, but you make that decision, don't look back.
Exactly.
Okay? Don't be a person who doesn't like Italy because too many people speak Italian. That's what you call a moron
Listen,
or an idiot.
Expect the unexpected.
Right.
On that note, thank you so much for being here, and let us know what you want to hear more about. And of course, we'll see you on another video of Me in Sicily. Ciao.
Sa benediga. Grazie.
Welcome back, Al.
Thank you.